Welcome to the Agency Insider podcast. In this episode, we are thrilled to host Chris M. Walker, a leading expert in SEO and master behind Legiit, a platform that has revolutionized the world of digital services. Without much ado, I will put it to Chris. So, the answer everyone knows, but Chris, tell us a bit about yourself and how did you get into SEO, and then how did you went into Legiit from SEO?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I know you're just getting started, and I'm honored to be one of your first guests. As far as my backstory, how I got into SEO and then Legiit, before I got into any of this, I was working in tech support. I was doing IT tech support, level 1 support for a real estate development company that I hated the job, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't happy, and I wasn't making the kind of money I needed. I had a lot of credit card debt I wanted to pay off, but I didn't really know how. And then one day I was reading a blog that used to be a professional wrestling blog that was now just one page of what the author was doing then. And he talked about how he was now making his living doing something called affiliate marketing, which I'd never heard of to that point, but it sounded really cool. So I started researching that. I played around with it on my own. I bought a course on off of the Warrior forum called Bring the Fresh. And that's what helped me to start my first site. And that site still exists, by the way. And it doesn't make any money anymore, though. But I was doing pretty well with that. And then around 2014, the Penguin 2.0 update came out, which for those of you that weren't around back then, that was a Google update that penalized sites for link spam, which I didn't even know was what I was doing, but apparently I was. So that made all my affiliate marketing stop working. So I still wanted to make this work. So I bought another course called Source Phoenix, where I started learning about the possibility of doing SEO for clients. So I started taking on some clients through, most of them I found through cold email, a couple I got through referral. And I still had my day job at this time. So I was having to sneak around at the job to do this sort of stuff. And that did okay, but it wasn't enough to quit the day job. And then in 2015, I signed up for a marketplace that was new at that time. And I started selling SEO services, and that started to really catch on for me and started to make me some money. And then I got a shout out from an influencer in the SEO space at that time that really made that take off. So that's when I started building my brand around that, and started my Facebook group and YouTube channel and things. And that's where the SEO brand started to take off. But then in like late 2017, that site started having all sorts of problems, and it would crash, it would get hacked, and eventually it just went away. So I had made some relationships with the other freelancers on it, and I was just selling my stuff through my own website at the time to keep the income coming in. And a lot of people there were asking me, could they sell through my website? I was like, well, maybe I'm onto something here. So I partnered with a developer that I had met through that other freelancing site, and that's when we launched Legiit in 2018, which was just going to be like a side project for my SEO business. But within 1 month, it was my biggest revenue source, and it's grown almost steadily for almost 7 years now. So that's kind of the backstory and how we got here.
Okay. So the first obstacle you faced was really the Penguin update.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think the very first obstacle was not really knowing what to do and not knowing who to listen to. Because as you know, there's a lot of people you can or cannot listen to. But yeah, the first setback was probably the Penguin update, because I didn't even realize what I was doing at that point was called SEO. I thought what I was doing was affiliate marketing. And the way I was getting my sites to rank was through a link building tool called Magic Submitter, which just made thousands and thousands of links. You probably remember it. And it worked really well at that time. But then after Penguin, it didn't. And I had to figure out what I needed to do next.
It's like those GSA blasts you do, right?
Yeah, kind of like that. It was a little different, but yeah, same kind of thing where it's just a bunch of different types of links. And to me, it was much more user friendly. But
all right. So that was when you got hit. So then you went to that marketplace. What all services? I mean, you were doing affiliates. So when you moved to suddenly client, because you didn't have any idea about SEO. So what services you started selling first on that, which later on you got a shout out from the influencer?
So to back that up, by the time I started offering to clients, I did understand SEO a little bit from couple of other courses that I'd taken. But as
Okay.
far as what I started offering on that other marketplace, first thing I did was, and I don't recommend this now, but was I just found a service on Fiverr that I liked and upsold it. It just doubled the price and upsold it. And then that's kind of one of them. And then the next one was I had bought a shiny object basically, but it was a link building software called Sendwire. And what you could do was run campaigns. So what I started doing was I had a lifetime deal on it. So I started selling campaigns from it for $5. And then an influencer shouted that out and I started getting flooded with orders. And then all my other services started taking off, like social signals and other types of Web 2.0s. And I just kept adding more and more stuff to it. And I still do that to this day.
All right.
Well, not Sendwire, that went out of business, but I still do marketplace services till this day.
So how did you came up with your name, the Superstar SEO?
Well, at one point what I wanted to do was make a blog that reviewed like JV Zoo products so I could get affiliate commissions off of those because I hadn't given up on the affiliate marketing idea. And I knew that I never ended up doing that, but I knew that I needed a name and I didn't really spend a lot of time on it. And again, I was really into professional wrestling at the time. And WWE calls their wrestlers superstars. So I just went with Superstar SEO. And the whole thought process behind a business I've had for a decade now took about 30 seconds to name it.
Okay. So from Superstar SEO, you moved to Legiit. So and how did I understood? So how did you came up with the name Legiit then? I mean, the name sounds very cool to me.
Well, what I wish the story was that I'm a marketing genius. And I knew that it would get people thinking that everything on there was legit and people would say I'm legit and stuff like that. But the real story is we started developing it before we even had a name. And it was 2-3 weeks before we couldn't come up with anything. Ironically, I bought a gig off of Fiverr to get like name your business. And what they gave me was just absolutely terrible. And then my partner stumbled on, there used to be a site called Brandzam where you could buy like brands that were no longer active.
Right.
And he stumbled on Legiit and I remember we still have the conversation saved, but it was like, I kind of like it. He was like, I kind of like it. And I kind of don't. And I was like, yeah, I can see people saying stuff like I'm legit. So we just went with it and it's been here ever since. And fun piece of trivia. If you go in the Wayback Machine and look at legit.com back in like 2013 or 2014, it was an Indonesian coffee shop was the website was.
So you bought it from the marketplace and like expired.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was an expired domain. I didn't realize it was an expired domain because I didn't really ever think to check it, but yeah, it was. So it didn't give us any kind of SEO benefit for those of you that are wondering.
The funny thing is I bought page traffic in 2002 and I found it on After NIC and somebody was selling it and I went on GoDaddy and it was available for registration. The guy was still selling it. So I bought it for 2 years. And before that, it was a porn site up till 99. So that's kind of mind.
There's a lot of like famous sites where if you do that, you'll find that they were something else. Like MySpace in like 2000 was a hosting company.
Really?
Yeah, I got bored one day and started looking up like old like major sites and seeing what they used to be. And that's the one that sticks out to me the most is they used to be a hosting company, which makes sense if you think about the name. You know, it's like space. So
Right. So when you started Superstar SEO, you were just one employee, like, or how was it? I've been looking at growth of number of people in town.
Yeah. So in the beginning from 2013, when I first started doing all of this, all the way through late 2017, it was all just me. Now, sometimes I would outsource things to like Fiverr that I was reselling, but for the most part, it was all just me until 2017 when I made my first hire, which was way too long. If I'd have done that a year sooner, I'd be 10 years further along now. But that was my first employee who is still with me to this day. I think you may have met him a time or two, Georgie. But and then from there, I grew another one. And now between the two businesses, we probably have around 30 to 35 people making it all work.
Okay. So
100% remote, by the way.
That's cool. So just for the people who are starting out, obviously most of us, including me, myself, I also started from home, just like you. But so the hiring of the first employee and taking that, was there a fear ever? Okay, I'm hiring an employee, I'm responsible for someone, their salaries. How would it work if it didn't work? Because was there any sort of any hesitations or something which you had as an entrepreneur usually we have?
At that time, I didn't have that concern.
Mhm.
I was more of the more concern I had was I can do all of this myself and I don't have to pay him, that whole thing.
Right.
Now that is something that I keep in mind all the time, that people depend on me, so like
Okay.
that definitely, I don't want to call it a fear, but it's definitely something that motivates me
Of
now.
responsibility, I would say.
Yeah,
Yes.
because not only do I have employees, but thousands of freelancers, their entire income depends on the
Yes.
decisions I make. So even it's
Yes.
weird because like even little things like I do boxing and kickboxing and stuff. And
Mhm.
sometimes I worry if I get hurt, I'm not going to be able to take care of them, and I'm not going to get hurt that bad to where I can't work. But
Right.
like, I'm afraid if I slip on a piece of, not that it ever gets ice here where I live, but slip on some ice outside and like break my neck or something. My point is that does worry about me, that I won't be able to take care of them. But at that time, it was more about, I just don't know why, if I really want to spend that little bit of my profit. Of course, it ended up being the best decision I ever made. It's interesting because the worst decision I ever made was
Hmm.
not hiring sooner, and it ended up being the best decision I ever made to do it when I did. So to answer
Uh,
your question, no, I didn't worry about it then, but now I
uh,
do think about it.
so how did you went out doing your first hire or all the hires? So is there certain methodology or is there something you specifically follow? How does it work?
So for the first one, I actually got funnily enough, I told you I was reselling a service from Fiverr in the beginning, which I
Right.
don't do anymore, just for the record, and I haven't done for years. But
Yes, yes, I
uh,
hear you.
but I was working with one person, and he found me off of Fiverr somehow, and we started working without working through Fiverr because
Okay.
fuck them. Honestly,
Yeah.
part of my language. You can cut that out if you need to.
Okay. No, it's okay.
Okay, but and then when I told him, I got to know him, and then when I told him I needed someone, full time, he recommended someone. Well, actually, let me back up. He went on vacation one time and assigned someone to like work in his place, and then
Mhm.
he went back to normal after that. And then when I told him I needed someone, he's like, well, "What about that guy that you worked with before?" And I was like, "Okay, fine." And that was Georgie, who I've now known for, been talked to almost every single day for the last, I guess, 8 years or 7 years,
Uh,
whatever the math on that is. And then
so
as far as
it's like
now, like, even now, most of the people I've hired have been either through referrals or through people in our community. Now, that's not 100% true, but that's for the most part. For example, the second support person I hired, she worked support in my evening, her daytime, because she's in the Philippines. Since then, she recommended our daytime support person, and which is her, I think, brother-in-law, and then
okay.
our weekend support person, which is her sister. So, and then Georgie's sister, she works for us in support too. And that's like
Uh,
most of it has come through referrals. So I call it shopping in your own closet. So if you're looking to hire people, talk to people that already
yeah,
work for you and see who they know,
right.
because you should be able to trust not only their ability, but their judgment.
Yes, yes. So a good tip for somebody who's starting out when you want first employee or some person, it's good to look for a referrals and continue looking for those.
I think
Now,
so, because the other traditional ways of hiring, like remote, are stuff like LinkedIn and Upwork and so on.
mhm.
LinkedIn, I found that the expectations that people have are just fucking ridiculous. Hold on one second. Alexa, stop. For some reason, my Amazon Echo started playing music. Wait, but I find
You
that,
talking with music too there, if music suits.
uh,
Uh,
but anyway,
okay.
the people on LinkedIn I find have ridiculous expectations than think they're way more
Right.
valuable than they are. And I just never
Okay.
had much luck with like Upwork. But what I have had luck with was taking good freelancers from Legit and making them full-time employees, and then finding employees through people that already work for me.
So you mentioned you hired your first employee, then you mentioned you found your partner also. So what took you to go to a partnership rule and not just remain solo?
Well, for one, I don't know how to develop. I needed a developer, and I don't know how to do that. Despite having a
Okay.
degree in computer programming, I don't
Mhm.
have the skills needed. But I knew him. He was actually a customer on that other marketplace, and I sold him a $16 service. And through that, we got to be friends and worked on a few things. And then I started with the idea for Legit, and I was working with some other people, but I just didn't feel like it was a good fit. And I wasn't really asking him to like take part of it. I was just kind of complaining about it one day when I was talking to him. And
Mhm.
he eventually agreed to like take it on. And we've been working together ever since.
Ah,
But
okay.
to answer your question, I didn't have the necessary skills to do it myself, which is probably for the best because I would have, if I did, I would have tried. And now I'd
Right.
be stuck doing the development and trying to grow the business. If you're
Right.
going to take on a big project, I kind of recommend the partner model because nobody can
Right.
be good at everything that you need to do.
Right. Right. So that's tip number two coming today, guys.
Mm.
If you want to grow big, don't always have your plate full. It's good to share, and that's much more faster growth way of to grow.
Right. Like for example, if there was a bug or something today, I would have had to spend my time fixing that rather than doing things like this that will
Okay.
actually help us get more customers and grow and
Right.
awareness and stuff.
Right. So as we all know, as an entrepreneur, what we get stuck in our mundane daily task, as we say, CEO of everything, that's what we usually
Yeah.
call. And that's where you are not focusing more on growth, but focusing on a day-to-day operations. A lot of CEOs I talk to actually get stuck in a
Mhm.
day-to-day, including myself. I am also was
Oh,
there.
so
Everybody gets stuck in day-to-day operations, and then the focus gets lost. So now, because the thing is, you get stuck, then you get comfortable, and then you don't know suddenly what hit you. I mean,
yeah,
that's what happened.
there's a dopamine trap there because like if you give yourself a list of tasks and you
Mhm.
start checking them off, you get a little hit dopamine every time you check off a task. But you don't really like the best use of your time as a CEO is not doing tasks. It's using your brain to figure
Yes.
out things that will help the company and making a few decisions that have a big impact through your
Right.
team and through your systems and processes and so on. So it's really easy to get stuck in the trap of doing a bunch of tasks that if you think about it, really can wait or can be handed off or whatever. There's a difference between being busy and being productive. And a
Absolutely.
lot of CEOs fall into the trap of being busy rather than
Yeah.
productive. And productive is things that move the company forward because
Right.
that's your job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And I've been myself guilty in that. I've been
So am I.
busy, not productive. I'm sure everybody would have. Coming on to Legit, when you built Legit, so how did you started attracting? I mean, first you have to have the freelancers on it, and the second part was you have to have clients who are looking for those services. So how did these both part figure? I mean, the
Yeah.
part of the puzzle.
So there's a kind of a chicken and an egg problem there, is what
Yeah.
it's called in marketplaces, is that if you have too many freelancers and not enough customers, the freelancers are going to be upset because they're not getting work. And just for the record, that problem never goes away. But then conversely, if you have too many customers and not enough freelancers, they're either not going to find the people that they need, or the ones that can do what they need get overwhelmed because there's too much business. So you can't, not only do you have to grow both of those, but you have to kind of grow them both at the same rate. Otherwise, the thing is not going to work. Now, what worked out well for me was I had built supply and demand. I don't like when people use those terms to describe them because they're human beings, they're not numbers, but
Right.
I
Right.
had
Right.
managed to build distribution before I built the product. What I mean by that is I had been taking my customers from that other marketplace and funneling them into the Superstar SEO Facebook group, into my email list, and
Mhm.
into my website. So I had different ways of contacting them. So I built up an audience of both people that did SEO and people that could offer SEO, which kind of sounds like the same thing, but it's not exactly the same thing because like for you, for example, you're both a customer and a seller of SEO services. So I built up a list that way. And then I
Okay.
brought in the people that I knew well enough to first have them be
Right.
freelancers. And then
Right.
that just kind of spread. And then from there, word of mouth took over more than any other marketing channel. And then of course we still do SEO and ads and, stuff. But for the most part, having an audience to begin with is what helped. It sounds kind of contradictory, like not contradictory, but it sounds kind of like the best way to have an audience is to already have an audience kind of thing.
Right.
So, but if what I recommend is if first of all, don't start a marketplace because it's a hard business. The margins are razor thin. But if you're wanting to start any project, the first thing I suggest is start building a personal brand around a topic. And that way, whatever you end up deciding to do, you can kind of drive it that direction. So I'm not at these guys level, but some great examples of that are like Mr. Beast and
Right.
Logan Paul. Mr. Beast started his channel with just the idea of being a YouTuber and doing that. And now he's taking it in all kinds of directions with like chocolate bars and Beast burgers and whatever. And Logan Paul, kind of the same thing. He's a boxer, he has Prime, and they've built up personal brands so they have an audience ready that they can take into whatever business. And I didn't know that that's what I was doing at the time, but that's kind of what I did is I built up an audience. And then once I knew what my thing was going to be, I had people I could sell it to.
Right. So here, Guy, tip number 4, whenever you start it, list building is a very important part. So most of the time we miss that part. So if you start from day one, you have your list, it always become easier. And in today's days, when, I mean, so much uncertainty around Google and SEO, it's important that your list building is important. And of course, and personal brand, of course, in 2024, I mean, everybody is more into personal branding with Google, which we're going to come later and talk also. So when did you came on this? Because honestly, I've used Legiit few times, but I never came across you as such. I mean, I saw you doing much more, you being more active in last couple of years, or am I wrong? I mean, I feel that way. And
I mean, I've been pretty active since even before Legiit, but the fact that you only picked up on me in a couple of years means I wasn't working hard enough in those other years.
So. Maybe I'm not browsing enough.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if you are or not. I don't want to say you're my ideal customer, but you're somebody who should be aware of me. Yes. So that kind of proves the point that I just made is that, being out there as much as possible. Now, SEO tends to attract introverts. At least that's been my experience, who don't want to do YouTube, who don't want to do social media, who just want to sit behind their computer and build links and do stuff. Right. But if you want to attract business, that's just not going to work. Right. At least it's not what's worked for me. There's probably people out there, will it work for me? Well, of course, but you can't be shy and build a business, in my opinion. And the personal brand is like the absolute key to that. And the fact that you didn't know about me until a couple of years ago means that, I've been figuring it out on my own. So still there? Hello?
Yeah. Hello.
There you are.
Yeah. So invariantly in our office, we use Audit.io a lot. So we bought it from AppSumo, I'll be honest. So we use for this quick SERP analysis. Yes, we love that software. So in fact, 4 or 5 licenses of those, just to be sure if one gets stuck. We don't know. Yes. So when you built Legiit, so this was the one. So did any sort of marketing? Because I understand freelancers and I understand, but it's also important for you to put marketing. And I know you just came up with an ad, which we're going to talk a little bit later. But initial stages, I know it was marketplaces are hard, but what actually you tried and what worked when it comes to getting the clients in the marketplace?
Community building by far. Being active, and it's funny because you just said you hadn't heard of me, but being active in the community that we create, helping the freelancers figure out how to run their business more successfully, helping customers find what they need, and then just organic community building more so than anything. Now, we also did and still do paid advertising and SEO and all that stuff, and that's important too. But the reason that we succeeded where other people failed was that we built a community that's very passionate about our brand and our business. During the pandemic, I was doing live streams every single day to the community, and I built up relationships with people that I still have to this day from doing that. And that one particular thing made a huge difference. Now, I don't know if that would work as well today, because then you had a captive audience and everybody was stuck at home. The pandemic was, I hate to say this because it was such a horrible thing, but it was actually very good for our business because we were able to get even closer to our community. Community building is something I have experience in general, because even before that, I had already built up the Superstar SEO community. And then I have it in my background also. I used to work in politics as a political field operative. And what I did there was build communities around candidates so they would come and knock on doors and make phone calls and pass out literature for us. Community building is probably the most powerful form of marketing. And paid ads took a long time for us to figure out because it's not as simple as it is for most people, where you can just send people an ad to a website and they buy something. Like for us, we
Right.
don't control the inventory, as it were. So it took a long time to figure out paid ads. And the truth is, I never figured it out. But I have an agency I work with now, and that does a good job with that. And then the SEO, I've done all that myself until recently. So
Okay. Okay. So you started building communities, and yes, in my defense, I knew you before Legit, but I didn't knew you own Legit. So
oh, really?
right. So I
Interesting.
knew Superstar SEO, but I didn't. Yeah. So I know you, but not that way. But yes, because my team was buying things on Legit. So yeah.
Interesting.
Coming back to this, so community building is important, but of course, so the SEO and the PPC. Now you've seen how the things have been after this SG and Google March update, and of course Google helpful content update thing. So has they changed in terms of because I believe most of the services which you sell, which is on your marketplace, are mostly related to SEO, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say that most of them are, but it's the biggest sellers are SEO.
Okay. So have you seen a dip when it comes to, because when I talk to a lot of people, and of course, people are having less faith in SEO. I mean, a lot of people talked about that SEO doesn't work. A lot of affiliate marketers quit last couple of months. So has it changed in number of volumes or in terms of revenue, if you are comfortable sharing that?
SEO services still sell better than ever for us. What
Okay.
has taken a big hit was content sales. And when ChatGPT came out, I literally have a report that I made where I can literally from month to month to month to month to month to month after ChatGPT came out, see content sales declining. It's starting to slowly affect graphics sales as well. Not as extreme, because I feel like, I don't know about other people's opinion, but I feel like AI art isn't quite there yet, but it's definitely had an impact on that. But as far as SEO sales, it hasn't affected it at all.
So in last 3 months, no SEO sale has been affected with the Google updates. You haven't seen anything?
Not on my platform.
Okay, so guys, one good thing, as all you people keep on asking, is SEO going to be dead? Of course, it's one of the favorite question every year. It is not.
I will say that I think that doing niche sites the way that people have been for the last 5 years or so, I think that's dead. I don't think that's coming back, at least not through SEO traffic.
Yes. As Chris mentioned initially, the list building or the audience building is important. So as long as you have an audience, you can, of course,
churn out. And there's also other traffic sources. There's Pinterest, there's Facebook, there's TikTok. Yes. But as far as just like like a travel blog where you monetize it through ads and you get your traffic through SEO and long tail keywords, I don't think that's ever coming back.
Absolutely. So most of the legit traffic is driven with the SEO. I mean, if you have to rank them, is this?
Hold on a second. Sorry about that. If I had to rank them, I think that Facebook traffic is number one, because we built those communities from it. I could be wrong. I don't have the numbers in front of me. And then SEO traffic would probably be number two. And then YouTube traffic is number three.
Okay.
Again, I could be wrong about that, but
so YouTube recently, when you started doing your channel, or has it?
I've had my channel since 2016.
I'm sorry.
The channel's actually older than Legit.
All right. Okay.
But I mean, there's also the Legit YouTube channel, and then other people talking about Legit on YouTube as well.
Okay.
Yeah, if I had to guess, you know what, I can actually look. I'm not going to show you, but I'll bring it. I'll look.
Yeah, sure.
Dragging.
I got my eyes on your eyes. I can read.
I'll tell you, over the last 90 days, I'll tell you what our top 3 traffic sources were. Takes just a second for it to load. I use Clicky. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
I myself use Clicky. No longer believe in Google Analytics.
Direct traffic is number 1, so that doesn't really count. Searches were number 2, and social media, and then at paid advertising. So I was wrong. But as far as the individual sources, it's kind of hard to tell, but it looks like Facebook, and then TikTok, which is surprising, and then YouTube. And then it doesn't really tell you how Google fits into that, but you get the idea, right? We're a little bit all over the place, but TikTok is surprising, because I don't do any active TikTok.
Okay, so maybe some guys are doing it.
Must be.
Must be. Okay, so that's good. That's good. So the guys, the good thing is that yes, SEO is there, but also important thing is to diversify your traffic sources, as Chris gave us live examples, of course. So that's another way. So
Well, before we move on to like, talking about SEO
right.
and penalties and stuff, one thing we were doing pretty well with SEO until December 2020 update. I don't remember what that one was called, but we took a massive hit from that. And I don't know why, even to this day. We lost a ton of our traffic then, and we've built it all way beyond what it was there. But I've had to fight through updates on Legiit itself too. Like that December 2020 update really screwed us. We were number one for like SEO marketplace and SEO gigs, and they dropped off the map. And now we're back with those, but we lost a lot of traffic from that particular update.
So just for the guys, because with every ICO update, sites live and die, and you don't need to really take it to heart. So what went through? I mean, suddenly you lose traffic. Then did you panic? What did you? What?
No, I mean, to be honest, there was never any good information on how to recover from that update. But I made sure that our other traffic sources were good, and I started slowly fixing our SEO. I did a few things. Like at that point, our blog was on a subdomain, and I moved that over to the main domain. That was a huge pain in the ass to do, but it helped a lot. And then I just started focusing on the fundamental, because like the categories and subcategory pages and things like that.
Right.
I think it was around that time that occurred to me that this was a lot like an e-commerce site, and as far as SEO goes, and I started treating it like that. Right. But as SEO goes, it's a big challenge, because again, I don't control all of the content. So what would happen was like a service page would start ranking for something, and then the freelancer would go away and the page would go away. So we kept losing that. Or another time we used to sell some stuff that, to be fair, we probably shouldn't have been, but we were selling things like Google reviews and stuff like that. And we ranked really high for those terms. And then one day PayPal told us they were going to shut our account down if we didn't remove those. So we had to remove all of those, and we lost all that traffic. So it's been one challenge after the other SEO wise, but now we've kind of gotten to almost like authority mode. We're like a DA70 or getting close to it now, to where almost anything we post will rank. So we're doing pretty well, but it's been a big challenge. It's not as I do like the way I do SEO normally is not that exciting. Like I don't do a lot of fancy stuff. I just do good content, good URL structure, and links, and that works for most situations. But what Legiit is a bit more complicated. So I've had to figure it out as I went. And I've had some good help along the way. I had help from Gregory Ortiz and Charles Float, and a couple other people. Amit Kumar have helped me figure it all out.
So now, one question, because you interestingly mentioned marketplace is like an e-commerce, and it is very true. So the common issue which we find while doing e-commerce SEO is the products are same, and you do not, or a marketplace, you do not have a control of the content which your freelancer is putting. So let's say I'm a freelancer, I go on Legiit, I put the same content on 20 different websites, kind of creates a duplicity issue. So did you face this? Or if yes, do you have any checks and balances to?
What I've found is if a lot of people list not exact same services, but basically the same service, and do the SEO similarly, Google just picks one of them, and that one wins. Like basically, there's not much I can really do beyond that. Right. Some of them aren't going to like to hear this, but I have gone in and like when I saw there was one that was ranking like number 14, and it was just through accident, and they hadn't really SEO optimized it. I've gone in and changed people's listings to make them more SEO optimized and make it show up. I think they get pissed, and then they get pissed, but it's better for them. It's better for us. It's better for everyone.
Okay.
But I mean, to answer your question, when there's a bunch of like services, it seems that Google just picks one. And to me, as far as I can tell, it's completely random. You would think it's the one with the best SEO, but it's not always.
Right. I think it's something to do with your website authority also. So as long as you have an authority and lots of pages, I think you can sail through. Yeah,
but I mean, still, sometimes it's a brand new page it picks that's not optimized well, and then other times it's the one you would expect for it to pick. So it's fuck if I know.
So let's talk the Google recent update, March update, and of course there's another one which came in June, also spam update, which is going on right now as we speak. So with these type of updates, a lot of SEO community, I mean, there are two sides to you. One is a freelancer, one are clients. So does those freelancers get worried? How am I going to run my business? Or do they panic? What do they come to you? What happens? So
I'm sure some of them do, because freelancers are, I love them, but they are not the biggest picture thinkers in my experience. They think very narrowly. I think if there's a Google update that affects a lot of sites, that's an opportunity for people that sell SEO, because people want to get that traffic back. So they'll do things to try and fix it. And I think that my sales numbers the last few months definitely prove that to be true, because we're having a killer year. If they, I guess your question is, do they panic? I don't know how to say this without sounding bad. I've learned to tune out freelancers that complain, because I get a lot of complaints that aren't necessarily worth my time. But if it was something, if somebody came to me and says, I'm worried about the future, there's these Google updates and they're affecting SEO, what do you think? I would think that Google updates that make somebody else lost, and that person that lost is not going to quit usually. So they're going to need you more than ever, is how I would explain that. Now, do I think long-term the SEO might, at least Google SEO might be on a bad trajectory? Absolutely. I think the SERP results right now are the worst I've ever seen them in the last 10 years. And they don't seem to give a shit. They seem to be more interested in making profit today than making profit long-term. But that's a whole other conversation, I guess.
Yes. Sure. All right. So in recent time, of course, seeing all this, so when you had your marketplace, I believe it was primarily the SEO. Now you say the content. So is there another features or another set of categories you intend to launch in near future?
So what we're doing is moving away from being just a marketplace, and we're transitioning into being a full B2B growth engine, which is the only one of its kind. We have software built in now that you can just put in your website, and then our AI will go out and figure out what things you need to do, what things you need to improve, what you're ranking for, what kind of backlinks you have. You can connect analytics and do a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't reveal just yet, but you will get to see at our event. And then that will tell you not only what you need to do, but connect you to people that need to do it. So the biggest problem we found from our customers, like feedback from our customers, is I don't know what I need. Or there's so many options, I don't know what to buy. So that's one of the ways we're trying to solve that. And as far as other categories, we're focusing less on appealing to everyone, like the $5 place does. And we're trying to focus solely on things that businesses need. Web design, marketing, SEO, what else? Consulting, things like that business owners need, because I don't really want to appeal to everybody. The $5 marketplace, I'm always reluctant to say their name because I don't want to get in trouble. They have one of their biggest services, or gigs as they call them, is a guy that looks like Jesus who will make a video of him holding a sign or saying whatever you want. That's perfectly fine. There's a market for that. I want to focus on growing businesses, because I think businesses are what feed the world, and I want to help be a part of that. And our goal is to have every business on earth using our B2B growth engine and have it be the center of their business. So that's the direction we're going with it. It's to give them the tracking, training tools and stuff that they need to grow.
Okay. And so this is where you just, I had a look at your ads. By the way, that's very funny ad you had there.
Thank you.
So is this the ad supposed to go towards that growth engine, that B2B?
To some extent, yeah. Like a lot of people, what we haven't done a good job of is a question that I fucking hate is, how are you different than Fiverr? And see, I did say their name. One of the ways that we want to be different is that we focus on business. Also, I want people to stop thinking of us as just being for SEO, because a lot of people still have that perception that we're just for SEO. I wanted to get out the message that we're here to support businesses, but I also wanted to do it in kind of a fun way, because that's kind of my personality. At least I think it is. I try to, put a little bit of humor and a little coolness into things. And plus, one of the advantages we have of not being a publicly traded company like a Fiverr or an Upwork or something like that is I don't have to answer to any shareholders. So I can be a little more playful, a little feistier in my marketing, like that commercial is. And hopefully you'll link to that so people can see it. But that commercial was the idea that I told you we have an agency that does our ads, and same people created that for us and are running the ads to it. And it's just a really fun concept. I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, there was a product called Squatty Potty and they had a video that went viral. It was like a unicorn, and it was like pooping rainbows, and it went viral.
Right.
And that's kind of the not literally the same concept, but we wanted something that would be viral and be memorable and be catchy. And I think they nailed it, to be honest.
Yes, it's absolutely quite unique and refreshing than the kind of ads you see out there. When you said it's an ad, I expected it's something talking a jingle about Legiit, but it was totally different. And I love the ending.
Yeah. And by the way, I went there to on location for the filming of that, and I was blown away by how much goes into making something like that. Because that spot is like 90 seconds, I think, and it took
Right.
16 hours to record all of that, with different lighting changes and different takes. And so, for example, in the first scene, you see her and she's like, "Mom, I thought you said you took my finance in college." She said that
Right.
in the morning, and then her mom responds, "I took all the financing they would give me." And it looks like it happened all at once, but those two scenes were filmed like 4 hours apart. But and like every one of those scenes is like that. And it was fascinating to see behind the scenes of.
Wow.
Yeah. So if
And
anybody ever like wants something like that, first of all, I can recommend you to someone, but understand that it's going to be expensive, because what you see is the end result and not the full day.
just 16 hours. Right.
Well, and that
So
doesn't even
many.
count the time of like scouting a location, hiring actors, hiring producers, costume. You know what I mean? It's a ordeal. It made me have a lot more respect for like TV shows and movies and stuff.
Okay. 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 So so just you are coming up with your event, Legit Live, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about it. What exactly? How did the idea of freelancers, customers, marketplace? How does it?
So
What exactly is going to be?
So, well, you give a little backstory and then we'll get into the event itself. The backstory is I have hated events for most of my career. I felt like that people use them as an excuse to take a vacation, that everything that was said was just a sales pitch, and that there really wasn't any value. Like the networking was overrated and stuff like that. And then last year, Terry Samuels, I don't know if anybody knows Terry, but he invited me to speak. Yeah, speak at SEO spring training. I was like, yeah, why not? So I went out and I spoke at that. We had a great time. Spoke, met some cool people, made some connections. Then later that year, Gregory Ortiz invited me to speak at an event there in Florida, and I met some good people there and did some more networking and found it was positive. And then earlier this year, I spoke at another one through Michael Merlino and Brock Meisner at SEO at the Beach. And after that one, I had a great time again and made some good connections again. And I started thinking, maybe, first of all, maybe I was wrong about events, but also maybe this is something we should have, because people have been asking me for years when I was going to have a conference and I just blew it off. But we started thinking about it, and I put it in, we have a Slack channel for ideas, and like I put it in there, and instantly Jim, my partner, he agreed with it. And we've been planning it ever since. Now we wanted to do something a little bit different, because most conferences are, there's a hotel and then there's a conference room and then people speak and it's over. We're having ours at an event, a place separate from the hotel that I have a personal connection to, and I'm going to tell that story at the event.
Okay.
And then I wanted there to be more than just one type of person. What I mean by that is I don't want it to be an SEO event. I want it to be something that helps people in a lot of things. So we got people that do ads and then do business and stuff that are going to be speaking as well, along with a lot of SEOs, because frankly, that's still where a lot of my audience and a lot of my contacts are. And then we're also going to be revealing or like unveiling some new things for Legiit that nobody else will get access to until later on, that people there will get. So it'll be that. And plus, where I live, I'm blessed to live in a place that is fun to vacation in. So if people do want to make a vacation out of it, they can. One guy's coming from all the way from India to speak for us. I think you might be familiar with him too.
I think I heard about it. Yes, I am coming all the way from India. I'm very excited to join you guys there. I myself is kind of introvert, but yes, I've spoken in more than 100 conferences in India, and I've covered a lot of conferences in the US, not as a speaker, but yes, I've covered a lot of conferences. I got a lot of press passes, saving me $2,000 each time.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I want to point out is that please don't take this the wrong way, but a lot of folks here may not be as familiar with you. And
Right.
I don't want it to just be the same lineup of people over and over again. I wanted, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted to have some people that maybe not everybody knew. and could
Yes.
get something from, you know what I mean? So that was another reason that I picked some of the speakers that I picked.
Right. I saw it's a good mix of speakers. So you get so much going. What gets you going? I mean, how do you keep coming up with these ideas? I mean, as an entrepreneur, there are a lot of things we have in our head. We want to do it. So how do you keep tab of it, and how do you, I mean, do this?
So I guess there's two parts to that question: was how do I keep coming up with ideas, and then what keeps me going? And coming up with ideas, I want to say I read a lot, but I don't read in the sense that I open a book. But I walk a lot and I listen to audiobooks while I walk. And I learn a lot from those. The Steve Jobs biography inspired a lot of the direction that we're going now. And I'll cover that in a minute. So, and then I listen to like a lot of like Alex Hermosi type content. A lot of influencer stuff I don't listen to because it's usually just, but I think he really has some high value stuff. On Facebook, Alan Sultanic, I get some good information from on like copywriting and things like that. So just like paying attention to the world around you and seeing that for trends and things that you can in other industries that you can apply to your own industry. Those things help me a lot. And wanting to be different is another one. I learned as I got into this that marketplaces are a dime a dozen. There's literally a community called Everything Marketplaces that has like 10,000 marketplace owners in it. So I wanted to do something different. So that's why we started building some software into the platform. And I got that idea from a book called Modern Monopolies that talked about how the biggest companies in the world now are platforms rather than just products. And that really inspired me to change Legiit from being more of just a marketplace into a full platform. And I got recommended that book from Ty Lopez, of all people, because I was in a program of his for a while. And then you asked me what keeps me going is like the money's great. Like, I'm not going to lie, but it's not just the money. Like I could make more just doing consulting. Like Chris could make more just doing consulting than I pay myself as the owner of Legiit. So while the money is important because it fuels the growth, it's not the money. Again, going back to that Steve Jobs biography, one of his goals was to put a dent in the universe. And that's kind of what I want to do is I want to do something that genuinely changes things and makes the world better. I want people having businesses has changed my life in ways that I never thought possible. And I think it's the key to making everybody's lives better is having good businesses. And I want businesses to have all the things that they need to grow. And I want them to get it from me. So I want people to be able to sign up to Legiit, plug their business in and know everything and be able to do everything through us. And that's my big goal, is to have every business in the world doing that through us, and getting a step every day closer to that goal is what keeps me going.
So guys, we have a link down in the description for Legiit if you want to sign up, and definitely I use Legiit as well. So interesting thing is that as reading keeps you going, and of course audiobook is as good as reading, so you do read a lot. And I would so you said Steve Jobs biography influence. So are there any other books you recommend for our listeners?
Yeah, definitely, depending on what your goals are and what level you're at, of course. But the Steve Jobs biography, absolutely. Any tech CEO biography is really great. Elon Musk has 2 of them. There's a Bill Gates one. Any of those that you can consume are good. And then Modern Monopolies. I'm terrible with author names, but the book Modern Monopolies was a big game changer for us. And then if you're at more of a beginner to intermediate level, I would say the 2 Alex Hormozi books, $100 million offers and $100 million leads, will give you some great insight. That's off the top of my head. Those would be the first ones that I would recommend. And then from there, it depends on your particular specialty, whether it's marketing or copywriting or whatever. All right.
So just some closing questions. So when you start the Superstar SEO and now you have Legiit, so a lot of people talk about SOPs and processes. So did you had those before, or do you have them now, or how did it went?
It's definitely not my strength personally. I tend to be more of I just can store everything in my head. Like, I don't mean that to brag, but like my memory is good enough to remember how to do everything just from my head. But that doesn't work with employees. So they have kind of come up with their own systems. And for a while it was all over the place, but now it is consolidated in to a few places where I don't want to call them SOPs, but like, this is where you go to learn how to do this thing in the company. You know what I mean? And then I give people the freedom to do it a little bit of their own, but we do have SOPs and procedures, and it helps to be organized like that. If it was up to me, it wouldn't have ever happened. So I give credit to my team for that, because I'm a good leader. I'm not a good manager. So.
But that's what counts. There are sometimes the good leaders are good managers, but tend to be a bad leaders.
Yeah. And that's a distinction that a lot of people don't understand the difference between. So let me clarify that. A good manager manages tasks and makes sure that the checklist that we talked about earlier gets done. A good leader just tells people what they want done and comes up with the idea and lets them go do it, and gives them the support they need to get it done.
Like empowering the people.
Yeah, definitely. The most common answer to a question I give is, what do you think we should do? Because most of the time people already know what they should do, or they suspect what they have an idea what they would do, but they want you to like okay it, or they want you to be the one that give it to them, and just say, what do you think we should do? And then just say yes, unless what they want is really bad. Just say yes and let them go do it.
All right. Okay, so I think we crossed our 1 hour. I mean, honestly speaking with you, the time just flew by. I just noticed.
Yeah,
right. So it was an interesting talk with you, and I will mention all the books which you have in our description below. And anything else you would like to tell our listeners?
Other than buy stuff from me, I would love you if you would do that. More than that, at the end of all of my live streams and some of my videos, I always say, figure out which one I like and go out and get it, because you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the world. I mean that. So, figure out whatever it is that you want to do, figure out the end first, reverse engineer what it'll take to get there, and then just start making sure that everything you do takes you in that direction, and your life will transform in ways that you never thought possible.
Right. That's absolutely wiser words. I completely agree with it.
Thank you.
Might not be following it all the way, but yes, that's how it should be. Right. All right, Chris. Thank you very much for joining me today here.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right then. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.